Tonight on the Donlin Report, the fate of Kyle Rittenhouse will be in the hands of the jury soon. What would you do if you were in the jury box? It's now a waiting game. We'll break down the main issues for both sides. As we start a new week, live from our Chicago studios, the Donlin Report starts right now. Good evening. The nation awaits the verdict in the murder trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. That is the pulse of America tonight. Closing arguments will be over soon, and it will be in the hands of the jury. Rittenhouse's fate, that is, and we will wait for that likely tomorrow. And if you're like us, you've been talking about this case a lot. And now 12 people in Kenosha will decide. 12 Americans serving on a jury will decide the fate of a 17-year-old at the time who shot 3 people, killing 2 of them, claiming self-defense. Certainly a tall order for 12 everyday people like you and me. Would you be able to be impartial if you were on that jury? Would you be able to consider only the facts of the case and turn off all the noise? Because the noise has been deafening. The far right views Rittenhouse as a hero. The far left views him as a villain. The truth, like most of the rest of America, probably lies somewhere in between. But this trial has become political, no doubt, as most things tend to do. Here are some of the facts. Many experts believe the prosecution botched the case. We shall see. Also, whether you think he's a hero or a villain or something in between, Rittenhouse's testimony changed a lot of minds. Again, we shall see. Only 12 will decide that in the end. But a lot of people saw that testimony as affirmation of their support for Rittenhouse as a hero, or on the other hand, as a guilty vigilante. Rarely does a legal case grip the country like this one has, and with the country on the edge of its seat, waiting on word now from those 12 in Kenosha, the governor of Wisconsin has called 500 National Guard troops to be on hand for potential unrest after this verdict is ultimately announced. And that's where we start tonight with 2 attorneys, Brian Claypool and Randy Zellin, both to have great to have both of you back with us tonight. Brian, your headline.
Yeah, 2 headlines. First, the videotape used by the prosecutor actually helped the defense to the extent that it showed that that Rittenhouse was not the aggressor, that these 3 victims were the aggressor. In all 3 instances, as Randy has indicated, Rittenhouse was attacked, hit with his skateboard. One of the victims grabbed his gun. Rosenbaum lunged, and he had soot actually on his hand, which means that he had his hand on the barrel of the gun. And that means that under the law in Wisconsin, that I think a jury is going to find that it's reasonable for Rittenhouse to believe that he was in fear of serious bodily harm. The other real quick headline, Joe, I thought defense counsel did an exceptional job of demonizing the victims. Nobody has really talked about Rosenbaum, Huber, and Grosskreutz at all, really, until now. And then you see the videotape of what they were doing behind the scenes, and whether we like it or not, Joe, jurors look at whether they like somebody, whether they're a likable person. And I came away from these closing arguments thinking, wow, these guys really were kind of like part of a mob. Well, and that might make it easier now. It might make it easier now for the jury to acquit Rittenhouse.
Yeah, the whole thing, as you're looking at this video, as you can see, it was off the rails. For folks who didn't get to hear any or much of the closings, let's play just a little clip from, I believe we'll start with the prosecution. All right, Brian, let's listen to the defense quickly here.
This case is not a game. It is my client's life. We don't play fast and loose with the facts, pretending that Mr. Rosenbaum was Citizen A #1 guy. He was a bad man. He was there. He was causing trouble. He was a rioter. And my client had to deal with him that night alone.
So, Brian, the writer David French said you can be in the wrong place for the wrong reasons and make a series of stupid decisions, but can still have the right to defend your life with deadly force. I don't envy this jury. What does it come down to?
Yeah, well, I think defense did a good job of humanizing Rittenhouse, and he also humanized the victims. And getting back to that provocation issue, Joe, this isn't the typical provocation you see in criminal cases. In other cases, somebody goes up and they punch somebody. They actually start a fight, or they stick a gun in somebody's face. Say, I'm going to kill you, right? That's provocation. What did Rittenhouse do to provoke Rosenbaum? He did something lawful. He's not even charged with the firearm charge anymore.
Yeah.
So he's lawfully there pointing a gun. He didn't do anything to provoke. And a point I made earlier today was this, like focusing on Rosenbaum. The argument was made, oh, well, he didn't have a gun. Rosenbaum was unarmed. That doesn't matter under the law. If Rosenbaum is charging after Rittenhouse, and Rittenhouse has already heard that, go get him, go kill him, and he's within a foot of Rittenhouse, I mean, a police officer, Joe, would be justified in shooting as well. At that point in time, you can deploy deadly force.
Right.
And then on the other two, you've got a skateboard hitting him in the head. That's a deadly weapon. So I'm with Randy on this one. I mean, I really don't think it should be that hard for the jurors.
Randy, I'm out of time, but quickly.